Did you know that the Bible, our movies, and our TV, and even our books all have stories from God? These are the stories that matter, and we can best learn about this from Samwise Gamgee. This is From the Two Towers from the Lord of the Rings. Hi, I'm Reverend Kevin. Welcome to Wisdom Fragments. This is where we try to find fragments of wisdom, and that's going to help us on our spiritual journey. And today's fragment is how stories shine to us as beacons of hope. So the scene where we talk about the stories that matter is where Sam and Frodo are starting to think that things are so bleak, it's time to give up. There is no future. And then the same is for us.
It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo. The ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were.
Samwise tells us about the great stories. These are in our scriptures. They are in our movies. They're in our TV shows. And he tells us stories filled with darkness and danger, where the ending seemed uncertain and happiness was almost impossible. And despite the hardships, these stories matter because the shadows were temporary. There was a brighter day that always followed. All of these tales stayed with people and held deep meaning, even if they didn't fully understand why, even if they didn't know at the time. This captures why stories of faith and perseverance are so powerful and why they're so important and why they inspire us, because they give us this positive outcome when everything seems bad and everything seems bleak. This perspective is crucial when we feel abandoned or punished when doing it through tough times. Challenges aren't signs of divine hate, but opportunities of growth and deeper understanding. So during hardship, this can lead to a greater good and to this stronger faith. And so Sam's speech is this commentary that's so deep on human resilience and encouraging us to see value in our struggles and hold on to hope. And Sam's makes this realization that he does know what all the people were holding on to in these stories. And he says that, but in the end, it's only a passing thing. He said this shadow, this even darkness, it needs to pass, because this new day will come. And when the sun shines, it shines out all the clearer. These were the stories that mattered and stayed with you. These were the stories that stay with you no matter what. And they mean something. And he says, even if you are too small to understand why.
What are we holding on to, Sam? That there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo. And it's worth fighting for.
Hope sometimes is hard to find in despair. And so Sam's speech points us to hope found in our greatest stories. And it reminds us that our stories are still being written, and dark chapters do not define who we are, and they don't define the entire book. Instead, they add depth to our journey, making us the eventual triumph that we get to be that much more meaningful. This idea aligns with the belief that our struggles are a part of a larger, hopeful story. And sometimes, life, it just feels so overwhelming and it feels completely unfair. And we begin to question why things around us are just so hard. Our struggles are temporary, though. They might not seem so, but they make us stronger. Our suffering might not seem to have the meaning but the hardships we endure make us bigger and greater than we ever dreamed. And it's easy to fall into despair and feel like the world is against us. And we might think that if we are good and kind, life should be easier. Sam's speech reminds us that the worth of these stories and the worth in each of our own lives in any challenge is how we overcome them. The journey isn't about ease, but finding strength when you don't think you have anything left to give. It's too easy to think of these struggles and pains and that they're punishments or lessons. They're not. They aren't intended to be like that. Think of life like a video game. Do you really think that you would ever play a video game that there was no challenge? And if you could never grow? Life is about being better than we are right now. It's about giving ourselves a chance to shine brighter and clear the darkness and clear that darkest night. And so Sam's speech teaches us and touches us on enduring hope. And no matter how bad things get, that everything comes to us is more precious because of every trial we've encountered. This means that we are still having hope when things seemed all lost. And you see, there is good in this world. And that's what many of us forget. The good needs to be fought for. We need to persevere. And even the most basic, simple thing brings us joy. Sam's words offer a comforting perspective even in the middle of the worst trial. And they suggest that in these experiences, they're part of a larger, more meaningful story. You see, our struggles are not meaningless. This is how we grow. When we grow, we can see things as God does. And that's when we can be that miracle and overcome any obstacle. These stories matter because they remind us that we aren't alone and we can be resilient. They teach us that here is where hope is for a better tomorrow. Sam's speech serves as this powerful reminder that our struggles are blessings, and they encourage us to find meaning in all of our hardships and hold on to hope. See, these stories, they're the ones that matter, and they show us that even in the darkest times, there is always a reason to keep going. And this message is so particularly important for those of us facing spiritual crises, because without these stories, we don't have this sense of purpose and direction, do we? It's all gone. And so when we look at them, it helps us to remember that our story isn't over, and that knowing that we can start to hope that our perseverance will lead to that brighter future.